Hey, what's up? I'm Lana.
And I'm James, and welcome to Mystical Monday.
So, one of the things that we always talk about, and it always seems like everything always comes back to this subject, is the what is the simulation theory?
The theory being that we're not really living on like a physical planet, but we're more living in like a computer program.
Right, right.
Yeah, that seems like a very plausible thing to me. And the reason why is because, like, if you think about where we are with technology right now, like, so right now we have, simulated environments that we can go into, we have virtual reality. Who's to say in the next 500 years you wouldn't be able to come up with some type of technology where you'd have a simulation that was this detailed,
Right,
you know?
right. And you
Yeah,
think sometimes like there's no way that like it could like a game could be that intricate so that like all the things that are in the game, there's just no way they could do all the intricacies of a daily life, like all the different colors and things. And it's like, how could that possibly be? But then, like sometimes you see those games, and like you literally can't tell the difference between if it's a real film
right.
or like if it's animated at this point.
Yeah, and there's just so many things that just back up the theory of simulation. Like, what the hell is deja vu? You know,
Yeah, we've come across that subject several
um,
times.
it's almost like you're experiencing a memory of a place that you've never been, or maybe you have been before, and maybe like a different simulation of your life before.
Yeah. Or what are dreams all about?
Right,
Why do you dream at night? Like, what is the purpose of that? Wouldn't it seem like if the best time for you or your body to repair itself and to, just rest is at night with everything else, why does your brain continue to just go off the wall? It's just like, why? And then then they say things like you never will imagine a person's face. It's like you had to have seen that face because your brain can't make up a person's face on its own.
right. Yeah, it's like almost feel like sometimes you meet people that you feel like you've known for a long time, or maybe you go to a place and like for sure that you've never been there, but you remember everything about it. Sometimes I can even. This sounds really strange, but sometimes I can kind of tell like if I'm gonna have deja vu, like I feel like okay, something's about to happen, or something just happened. It's like a way to I don't know. It's almost
Or
like you're
when you're in it, but it's such a weird deja vu that it's like not even worth mentioning like while you're in it because it's like why would you just randomly think, oh yeah, I've totally stood at this nacho bar before, it's like like it's so why do I remember that? Like who cares? Like what is that? Is that like a glitch in the matrix?
right. Yeah,
Like a tiny tear that's just never got repaired, so it's just like, oh, remember that one time you stood at that same nacho place and it was just as shitty.
yeah, and you're just like I've never been to this nacho place.
Yeah, and you're like, I've never been here. No, yes, you have.
You remember it. Have you ever had a dream about something that like that, and then like I don't know, like a deja vu dream? Have you ever had a dream about some place and then you saw it later?
Yes. Yeah. But wouldn't that be a premonition?
Ooh, that's an even deeper subject.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like, okay, most people say that, your dreams, they don't necessarily mean anything. But how can it not mean anything if your brain decided to write a story about it?
right,
You'd think like there's something to learn from that as far as like what is the story? What is it trying to teach you? Or what are you supposed to learn from it so that maybe you don't make that mistake?
hmm,
And like, maybe it has that significance. Then again, maybe it might just be just your brain just whatever. I'm just gonna like do this, and you're like in the dream with the person that you know is your best friend, but it doesn't have your best friend's face, but somehow you just know that it's your
right.
best friend. Yeah, it's like what the fuck kind of logic is that?
Yeah,
So
like
that's strange, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's think if it's like a computer program, obviously it's gonna have some problems. Like nothing like that can be perfect, right? So
right, yeah.
you
So it's
know,
like, well, we have this bug that it fixed where you think you're standing at a nacho bar. It's just like so weird.
you
Like could
know,
totally be that thing.
maybe you've experienced it before, but then something happened and they had to stop that simulation and go back and try again. Maybe something like that. Like maybe they had to like, well, something wrong, went wrong. Let's go back to this spot. Kind of like a restore point in a computer.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. What if it's a
Yeah,
restore point? But you don't remember what you even restored because you're back at the restore point.
All right.
Whoa. That could totally be. I mean, I never thought of it like that, but I mean, like, how would you know? How would you know what all time it erased?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because it's like going to take time for the bug to like show up. So it's like they release the update, it has the bug, and maybe like 3 days you lost, you know? But you don't realize it. You're just like, "Oh, I don't really like." Let me ask you, you know, like, what did you eat for breakfast on Monday? Actually, dinner. What did you eat for dinner on Monday?
I really don't remember that.
Yeah. You don't remember that? I have no clue what I ate on Monday. And it's Thursday. It wasn't even that long ago. I have no clue. If my life depended on it,
Mhm.
I'd try to guess, you know, but I just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's-
that's strange.
memories are strange because, like, you know, you have a very limited memory. You can't remember everything that's ever happened to you. Yeah, I mean, it's very logical to think that it's some kind of file system. You know, you're just living through a fake world. You know?
So then what exactly do you think about, like, you know, they always say that, you know, us saying that we only use a certain percentage of our brain is BS and that we use the full amount. It's just that,
Mhm.
you know, it's cut up in different ways, and that's people get confused what that actually means. So, do you think that that is true, or do you think that there are parts of your brain that you can unlock?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I have a prime example of unlocking your brain.
Okay.
And if this wasn't true, then how would this be possible? Okay.
Okay.
We've got a guy that was like you know, he's a construction worker, and he's on the job one day, and he gets hit by something, he falls off, and he really injures his brain.
Mhm.
When he comes to, and he's able to start like doing physical therapy and being back home again, he just realizes one day that he is a pianist, and he
Yeah.
is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, whoa, what the, you know, like he just does it, and he's just like, I don't understand what's happening, you know, like, why am I able to do this? I have no
Right.
idea.
Yeah. And something like that, you know, you can't just know it. You know, it's like you had to have had that information in your head
Yeah,
already.
exactly. It's like it had to have been there to begin with because you didn't learn it while you were in your coma.
Right.
Like, it had to have been there and you unlocked it. So, like,
So is that
can
to
you
say that
imagine?
maybe everyone on the earth knows everything already? We just can't
I
access the
almost feel
information?
like that could possibly be true. Or let's wrap it on back to the beginning, which is, could this be part of a different simulation that is bleeding through your current simulation
Right.
that you knew how to do in the other simulation? It's bleeding through because you unlocked it. So you're able to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they can go insanely deep with that. You know? That is that's what she said.
Yeah. So, okay, here's something to think about. So, if we're in a simulation, that means that someone or something is controlling it, right? So,
It does it? Does anyone have to be controlling it?
I don't know. Do you think that, like, a simulation is just like a computer? Or do you think it's like someone else experiencing our life?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, you could have, like, you know, billions of simulations running at the same time.
Right.
They're just all simultaneously running on different fucking dimensions. I don't know.
Well, yeah, yeah.
It's very crazy to think about because I don't really understand those type of things are what breaks all of my like faith in like something. Like, why does that happen? Why can no one explain that?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you didn't know how to do it, then how would you suddenly know how to do it? Meaning your
Because,
brain can already do it.
right.
It just hasn't unlocked it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think there's ever going to be a time where they can like input information into your brain like the Matrix style?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, but then again, like, I think that that would be so far down the road because everyone is so terrified of like being controlled.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about like the simulation, you know, maybe it's people from a future where we're living now that are living a past time, you know, like maybe it's not necessarily like a different being or a computer, you know, maybe it's the people from the future and they're going they're coming back, to maybe relive something, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know. There's just so many times like I've seen the videos of like a plane that's just like sitting in the air, not moving. Like like is that a glitch, or you know, um, just unexplained things that you catch on like film or you catch on audio and stuff, like a ghost. Like maybe that's something that is a different simulation altogether. Maybe it's not a dead person.
Yeah, and see, you're at the stage of the paranormal existence that I was at, like, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago. But like, you're at that space where you're like on the edge of like, I don't necessarily 100% believe in ghosts. 'Cause I don't know what it is, and I won't. There's no way I'll ever believe anyone else's evidence. The only way I can do it is to go and
Hmm.
experience it myself.
Yeah.
So it's like that's where I was at, where I was like, this is gonna be really scary, and this is like not good. Like I'm scared of the dark. So it's like, what am I doing this to myself for? It's like, but it's something about it when that thing happens, because it's kind of like deer hunting, like whatever hunting of any kind.
Hmm.
You sit there and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait, and a lot of times it's just waiting in a tree, and you're just like, this is super boring. But that like 15 seconds of oh my god, and then you
Right.
like shoot it, and it's like, oh my god, all this crazy energy. That's what it's like. It's just like your adrenaline is running high, and you're just like, I cannot believe that, like, I just saw that, or I
Hmm.
just felt that.
Right.
I just felt what a ghost is like, or I just smelt like this or that, and I shouldn't be smelling that right now. Why am I smelling that?
Hmm.
And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. And like, okay, so what if, like there's other people, like obviously in our lives, like, you and I are sitting here together, and like we have other people that we know and we talk to all the time. But like, if it's a simulation, if we're actually living in a simulation, like do those people actually exist? Are they only there for our simulation? Like, do they not real? I
Yeah.
mean, is it just me living in the simulated life, and I have simulated friends with a simulated job?
I almost feel like the simulations, if they exist, are simulations of anybody that ended up in that particular simulation. So think of it like shift change.
Hmm.
You're like, okay, so here we are. I work the night shift, and he and he and he and she, they work for me or work with me, but at some point I could shift, like, okay, now it's I can change my schedule, and now like you can mix it up to whatever, and then you end up with different people at a different time.
Right.
It's just, I feel like they're all interconnected. I don't think like everything is fake. I think the people are real, but nobody realizes that it's really just a simulation.
Hmm.
It just kind of runs its course, and then it's done. And then what? What happens to that simulation? Does it start over with the exact same simulation, or does it have a different group of people? Does it change completely? I don't know. And then, like you said, like, who runs all this? Like, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, is there a guy behind a computer somewhere that's running our simulation? And if so, like, why?
Yeah,
What?
why are you doing this? Like, what
Yeah,
the hell?
yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's way more plausible to me to think that we could be living in some type of computer generated world rather than, two atoms just colliding together and then making some energy and making something else and making something else and making planets and then making
Mm-hmm.
animals and people and water. And we have eyeballs that we can see with somehow when light reflects out of them. We have a brain that's just a muscle that controls our entire body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's more plausible to me to think that that type of thought process could be something that comes from the future or comes from somewhere else, and it's scientifically possible, not like an accident. And you're also thinking about, well, if that is true, if someone else is behind the computer controlling the simulation that you're living in, then where did that person come from?
Yeah, right. There's
you know,
always the other person that you're just like, where? What the fuck? Who are they?
right?
Who's this guy? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very strange to think about. It just seems like when you live, it just seems like things happen at exactly the right times a lot of times, and like I don't know, it just It just seems like it's too calculated and too planned to be an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get that. It is very, everything works together very well, and it almost seems like it was just made to work that way. But then there's other things that are like, like we evolve,
Mm-hmm.
and people not understanding that evolving isn't necessarily saying that you don't believe that, God existed. It's just, but everyone takes it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I believe in evolution because I believe that things have changed over the years to adapt. I mean, look at like what's happening now up in like the polar caps. So like there's polar bears that are mating with regular mountain bears, and they're going to make little offspring that can handle the cold, or they can handle a little bit
Right.
warmer, and it's going to continue to do that, and that's called evolving to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how that turned into a like, well, then if you believe that, then you don't believe that God made it correctly.
Right. Yeah, but like I always thought of the like position of like, okay, so the Big Bang did happen. The atom just smashed into each other as fast as it could, and it created everything. Well, something had to make those atoms. Like I'm just saying, like even though you can't disprove that there was a creator behind everything just because of science, to me, science kind of proves that it happened. But that doesn't mean that we know everything about it. It doesn't mean that we're actually flesh and bone living on a planet in the middle of a universe with millions and millions and millions of other planets.
Right. We're just one tiny galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's said a person on another planet's not simulating us, or I don't know. It's just.
Have you ever like been like flying in an airplane, and you're like flying into like a major city or whatever, and like you'll see all the little cars on the interstate, and they're teeny tiny, and like they're like little ants, and you're just like, you're looking at them and you're thinking of them like ants, like, because they're just like, they're just like lining up, and all the brakes, and then like they go, and then like the traffic lights, they all go, and it's just like little ants. It's totally how ants work, and it's just like there are problems within each car, probably to each person that's in the car is huge in their world, life changing to them, and means so much. But up in the plane, they're just one little ant of a tiny, army.
Yeah.
And it's just like you start to realize how small you are, because if that's how small you look when I'm in our atmosphere, imagine how tiny, tiny, teeny, tiny we are in this galaxy universe. It's like insanely small.
I mean, think about an infinitely large universe. I mean, infinite is infinite. It means it never ends, it never begins. There's no size.
Yeah, infinite always tripped my brain when I was a little kid. It's like I just couldn't like believe there was anything that was infinity forever. It's like, so you mean we'll never die? Like we will eternity be there? Like it never ends.
And you think about it in the terms of energy, like obviously we're made of some type of energy to be alive. So that energy can't be destroyed. Scientifically speaking, you can't destroy it. It just transitions into some other thing. So.
Well, I watched this one thing where it was kind of on reincarnation, and they believed that, please don't quote me on exactly what this is, because I'm really good at like watching shows that are like scientific shows, but like I don't ever remember the specifics of them. So I'm the terrible like reteller story of it, because it's like it comes out like that wasn't how it went at all. But basically, in the reincarnation theory, and I don't remember which religion, I'm assuming that it was Buddhism, said that you would live 7 lives. So, like you keep repeating the same basic scenario of whatever that is that trips you up every single time, and they actually consider like reincarnation with not just this is to be a human. Like they believe like you start out as like an ant, and then you continue on like a bigger and then bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to be a human. And I think it's like 7 or 8 lives before you can even do that. So you're just nothing before that. Not nothing, obviously you exist, but it's like bugs and small animals and stuff.
Right. You were some other type of energy.
Yeah. Which means that, that makes sense to me because, I've always said, like, the theory of, like, energy can't be created or destroyed.
Hmm.
I mean, if that's true, which, I mean, why would it not be true if it's everything else I mean, I don't know. It's like Einstein, like,
Yeah.
he knows what he's talking about. So, like, why would it be any different for this?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, what if the energy that we're experiencing is from a machine? Like, what if we die? What if you're laying in the hospital bed and you're 90 years old and you die, and it's like you just have some dude just pull a helmet off your head and he's like, "Hey, did you enjoy that simulation?"
Yeah, and you're like, what? You could have pulled me out 20 years ago? Why?
I
mean, but then you got to think about, like, man, you don't want to really think that way because it's like, what? I mean, how horrible. You'd have to just be like a terrible person for them to put you in a simulation where, like, I don't know, like your kid dies because of something that you didn't do right. If you would have just done something a little bit more responsible, then they wouldn't have died. Like something horrible like that.
hmm
And you have to go through that horrible life pain, and you're like someone who ends up having depression and anxiety and, just like wants to stay inside and ends up killing themselves. Because
Yeah.
there's many, many people like that. Like, that's a hell to go through, and that's not right. So it's like if someone's deciding to just pick random people to go through these horrible experiences, you would hope that it'd be like the people that are, serial killers and stuff.
I mean, but if you think about it in terms of simulation, you're not a real person. You're not real, and the things that you're going through aren't real either.
But what choices or I mean, it's just strictly the code that decided that you were going to end up in that situation, no matter how nice or good of a person you are.
What if, like, okay, so a lot of like, computer jobs or like IT jobs, they do a lot of things where they test different scenarios to see what would happen. So like they'll run it through like a testing phase and say, okay, let's run this through a million different scenarios and then we'll see what happens and we'll pick which one, we want to run with based on the results of the test we did. What if like life is like, someone putting all these people through different situations and different circumstances to see how they react to certain things.
It's so crazy. We're literally just little lab rats. We're the equivalent of lab rats.
I'm not saying that I believe we're living in a simulation.
Oh yeah,
I'm saying that
yeah.
it could be completely plausible to me scientifically.
Yeah.
Considering the technology.
That is a definite question mark for me. So but I mean, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I just don't know why we have to be put through some of the things that we're like, especially like right now, what we're dealing with, just everything. We don't really have to go into the specifics of it, but just everything that's happening in this moment in time. It's just like, why did this have to happen? And also, why does history seem to repeat itself every 100 years?
Right.
Okay? And I don't know if I told you, probably have, but I'm saying that every 100 years we repeat the same thing with the same choices, and they're always like pretty the same. Like it's like we keep just making the same mistakes over and over. And I believe that it's because the people that went through it originally are dying off.
Mm-hmm.
And as the older people die off, there's no firsthand accounts of it anymore. And if you don't have a firsthand account, people are not very empathetic towards anything.
Right.
It's like if it's not happening to me and it's not hurting me, then I don't really care if your grandma dies.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't really care if like there's been 200,000 people. Like, I don't care about that because it's not me. It hasn't affected any of us, so we must be better than you until you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that is just blows my mind.
Yeah. I mean, people are very selfish. Are we made to be that way?
Are we?
Is it something maybe that someone started to run with as far as like, a simulated life, and then, maybe like people became self-aware of themselves and, people are meant to doom themselves, just making the same mistakes over and over again.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it's a computer system that malfunctioned a long time ago.
We're just running in the background and no one knows it's running. Like, oh man, I thought I turned that off 200,000 gazillion years ago. Let's see what's happening. Oh, yeah, as expected, everything's on fire. Yep, they're killing each other. Everything's on fire. It's total mayhem. Wow. I expected
Maybe
this.
humanity is a simulation that was infected by some kind of virus.
It just makes you wonder, like, where does this matter? What's the point?
All right.
From a logistics standpoint, put away religion for a second, no matter what you believe or whatever. Just, I mean, you believe what you believe, and I'm totally cool with all of that, and that is totally fine. But just for a second, just think in your mind, without religion there as a backup, can you stand on like anything, any principle or any facts that hold water?
No, I mean, other than, if you're not living for some type of, if you're not living for God or you're not living for some type of purpose, then obviously you're just living just to survive. I mean, you're not
Or
living,
you're just like
there's
having
no,
fun and you're just doing your thing and you only live once, so you might as well live it up. Like,
you
you
only
could
live
think of
once,
it
so.
that way. Maybe, or maybe not, but I mean, either way, I don't know.
It's just so strange to
No
think
one
about,
knows.
it's so strange to think about, like, we think we know what happens, or, some people have an idea of what happens when you die,
Yeah.
But, do you stay here? Does some type of part of your energy stay here? Do you go to heaven? I mean, what happens? Do you just wake up as someone else? I mean, there's no way for anyone to
No
really.
one will ever know that until you literally experience it, and even then, you probably won't remember it because you're experiencing it as a new form.
Mhm.
I just don't think it's never something we will never know.
Yeah.
We'll never know. So, yeah. So anyway, we could go so much in and out of a gazillion different ways on this, and you know this, and this is why we pick this subject, because we do this every single time.
Yeah.
But we'll kind of wrap it up for now, and we'll just kind of leave it with the questions of, like, comment below on what you think, is the meaning of life, or what your theories are, weird experiences you've had, and we'll pin our favorite one to the top, and we'll reply to you guys and everything like that. We're very interactive with everyone, so definitely let us know what you think about the topic, and there's no wrong answers here. So
No. Yeah,
so I appreciate you guys listening to our first podcast of Mystical Monday. And we're going to keep doing this every Monday. And, if you have suggestions, let us know.
All right, guys. See you later.
Later.